So I recently did a video called Elbath Belt, in which I talk about how the placard within the Lego House of Chapter 1126 has a very similar bird motif to the belt of one Burgess of the Blackbeard Pirates, right? And then I got a very cool comment on that video. So big shout out to Mad QS4RV, who is a subscriber. And they said, what if it's not a belt at all, but a giant's ring? And I started to think that's very possible because it would make a lot of sense because I don't think we've ever seen where the belt opens and closes, right? So keeping it very sort of ambiguous would make sense because it's a big reveal that it is a giant's ring. And maybe Burgess in the past beat a giant up and took his ring. Or maybe he stole a ring from a giant, or maybe a relative of his beat a giant in the past and then passed that ring down through the family. We don't know because Burgess, we don't know much about. He could have a family, and one of those family members could have beaten a giant in the past. We don't even know that much about the Strong fruit. Maybe that too is a family heirloom that he lost and recently got back. Who's to say? But I think this opens up a lot of interesting thoughts because that's very possible. We don't know, especially seeing as how the belt has a bit of ambiguity around it. Now, in terms of the size difference between like Burgess and a giant, well, when you start to think about it, Burgess is not exactly a small dude. He's 11'8", so he's quite a large fellow. With that being said, his belt could be the pinky ring of a giant, perhaps, if the size differentiation is that big of a deal, or it could be a full-size ring to a smaller giant. Who's to say? This could even be an engagement ring of some sorts. We don't actually know, but I think that's something very interesting to think about, especially seeing as how it does seem like a trophy of sorts, seeing as how it's super consistent with his design, despite him making no reference to it actually until he becomes a cyborg after being lit up by Sabo. So I don't know, but it's a really interesting thing to think about. But with that being said, big shout outs to my subscriber. Thank you so much for that comment. And give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Paula Pete Works.